name's Caroline. Welcome to our Sheldon Road Church Sunday Supplement. Thanks for joining us today. Hope you had a lovely Easter. This week we're beginning our new series called Recognising Jesus. Today Ruth will be speaking on Jesus in the garden.
Jesus in the garden, newly risen from the dead, who stood by weeping Mary, and who heard the words she said, as if you were the gardener, till at last your shepherd's voice called her Mary, and with one word gave her reason to rejoice. Jesus in the garden, ever new, but still the same. Help me recognise you in the speaking of my name.
I'm reading from John's Gospel, chapter 20, from verse 11 to 18. Mary stood outside the tomb crying. As she wept, she bent over to look into the tomb and saw two angels in white seated where Jesus' body had been, one at the head and the other at the foot. They asked her, "Woman, why are you crying?" "They've taken my Lord away," she said, "and I don't know where they have put him." At this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing there, but she didn't realize that it was Jesus. "Woman," he said, "why are you crying? Who is it that you're looking for?" Thinking that he was the gardener, she said, "Sir, if you've carried him away, tell me, where have you put him, and I'll get him." Jesus said to her, "Mary." She turned towards him and cried out in Aramaic, "Rabboni," which means teacher. And Jesus said, "Do not hold on to me, for I have not yet returned to the Father. Go instead to my brothers and tell them, I am returning to my Father and to your Father, to my God and to your God." Mary of Magdala went to the disciples with the news, "I have seen the Lord." And she told them that he had said these things to her.
According to expert educationalists, we all have a preferred learning style. I'm not sure what yours is. It could be visual, it could be kinesthetic, or it could be the same as mine, which is definitely auditory. I explore the world, I learn, I understand things because of sound. And so sound is really important to me, people's speech and the sounds that I'm hearing around, sort of atmospheric sounds and things. And I think that might be because of my music training, or also because when I was brought up, we didn't have a television, so only the radio. So sound is my preferred learning style. And maybe that's why I find this particular part of the Easter story really special, because Mary recognises Jesus when she hears him saying her name. The sound of his voice and the way he says her name just confirmed it for her. That was definitely Jesus. So she'd already heard his voice because he had said to her earlier, "Woman, why are you crying?" And why she didn't recognise him then, I don't know. Maybe it was still the half light of dawn. Maybe she was surprised because the tomb was empty. Maybe she was still upset and crying. He says, "Why are you crying?" And maybe that blinded her to him. Maybe he looked different now that he was resurrected. Maybe his body was slightly different. But whatever it wasn't until he said her name in that familiar way, in that way that showed all the love and welcome and acceptance that he had for her, that was just the same as before, that she then recognised him. And it must have been so moving for her to have that happen in the midst of her grief, to have Jesus with her again, and the joy of that. The other thing that strikes me from this recounting of that first Easter day is that Mary accepts Jesus' return to life and his presence with her with no question at all. As soon as she's recognised him, that's it. He's there. She believes it. She knows it's him. So there's no confusion in her mind, no desire for all the answers, no desire to know all the science or anything like that. She accepts it. She knows he's there and she trusts him. I've always admired her for this, because I think if I were there, possibly I might have been putting him through a Q&A session. How can this work? I've seen you die. This isn't right. This isn't the laws of nature. What on earth is going on here? And just forgetting the whole thing, that he was actually Lord of earth, but also he's Lord of heaven. And I think this is the beginning of Mary's eyes being open to that. When he says, don't cling to me, I still haven't returned to heaven, that she's actually beginning to realise even more about Jesus now. And I need to do that. I need to know that he's the Lord of heaven and earth and I can trust him. And I need to do what she did, to enjoy his presence with me. I think my need for answers, my need for reasoning, my need for understanding actually distracts me from that and can rob me of that joy sometimes. That there are things that I'm never going to know the answer to this side of heaven. And I need to perhaps agree with Rainer Maria Rilke when he writes in his book, Letters to a Young Poet, that I can choose to be patient towards all that is unsolved in my heart. I can have that peace, I can have that joy, and I can trust in Jesus because of his deep, deep love for me. Thank you.
Well, that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Please join us again next week when Richard will be speaking on Jesus on the Journey. If you've been watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, press the bell for alerts and give us a thumbs up. Have a good week. See you again next week. Bye for now.